everyone. Grace and peace. We are Gethsemane United Methodist Church, and we are the Wesley Collaborative Cohort here at Gethsemane, and we have most of the team with us here right now. We're so excited to be here. I'm going to take a minute and ask for each one of the members of the team to introduce themselves. They're going to tell you their name and what they're involved here at Gethsemane, how they're involved, and then what they are passionate about. So I'm going to go ahead and get started right now with our sister Jessie.
Hi, I'm Jessie Alexander, and I am the chairperson for Nurture Ministry. I'm also a member of the Christian Education Committee, and I am very passionate about having a positive impact on other individuals through a mentoring program, a strong mentoring program within our congregation as well as in our community.
That's right.
We'll go next to our brother Willie.
Hi, my name is Willie Kason, and I've served as president of United Methodist Men, and at the current time I'm serving as SPRC. And also I am very passionate about helping people.
Thank you, brother Willie. We'll go now to sister Brittany.
Hi everyone, I'm Brittany Drakeford, and I'm a member of Gethsemane's trustee board. I am also a co-organizer with the Capital Market, a community farmers market that's incubated right here at Gethsemane United Methodist Church. I am passionate about food, local agriculture, and connecting our church with the broader community.
And we have our minister Tammy.
Hi, I'm Tammy Edmonds. I am with Gethsemane United Methodist Church, where I serve as the church's lay leader, as well as on many other ministries here at Gethsemane. I am very passionate about community involvement, church growth, and spiritual growth.
So the Wesley Collaborative came together. We came together in around about 2020. It was during the pandemic, and we were gathered and we answered the call. We gathered a group so that we can engage in the collaborative, the Source Collaborative at Wesley. And part of our work was to figure out what we wanted to measure in our congregation. We were cited as a thriving congregation, but we wanted to thrive at a higher level. And so I believe people would say now, I guess the going word, we want to be at a higher vibration. And so we wanted to measure a few things. So Brittany, can you tell us what are some of the things we wanted to measure, and then who do we collaborate with?
Yeah, so there were a lot of things that we wanted to be able to measure and get a better sense of how we were doing and how we were connecting with our broader community. So some of the things that we looked at measuring were our community engagement and activation. So how we were connecting with young people, both in the congregation and also in the local community. How we were connecting with other local businesses and other nonprofits that are rooted here in the Capitol Heights neighborhood. We also wanted to measure radical hospitality. So how was our congregation doing with welcoming new visitors? And then how are we also doing with engaging with one another as congregation members? I don't know if you all had any other ideas or remember what else we talked about measuring through this process.
I think you covered it all, Brittany.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yes.
So who do we collaborate with? Sister Jessie, or can you just talk about can you begin the conversation about who we collaborated with, some of the people?
Well, some of the people that we collaborated with, of course, our congregation, people within our congregation, but we also went out into the community and interacted with different businesses and anyone that we saw that we could get some general information about the community. Yeah. And find out what the needs are within our community so that we could start to move our congregation outside of the walls and go out into the community and just find out what the needs were.
And Brother Willie, we anticipated some roadblocks. So a part of this process was anticipating roadblocks. What roadblocks, do you remember what roadblocks we might have anticipated in our conversation at the beginning?
Well, as when we were out in the community, a lot of the roadblocks that we had a lot of people had a lack of interest and the fear of uncertainty and not knowing what we need, how we need to do things, and things that we actually need in our neighborhood, in our congregation.
Yeah.
Thank you. Anyone else want to just chime in on some of those roadblocks that we anticipated?
I mean, I think the uncertainty aspect was something that was really important for us. because we were proposing to do things that we hadn't done at the church before. And so there was a level of skepticism from the congregation,
Right.
which I know, I'm learning, I won't say I know, I'm learning is a part of whenever you're trying to create change or you're trying to grow, there's always like this fear of the unknown, as Mr. Kaysen said. So I know that was certainly like one of the roadblocks too. And then just trying to find, like, who are we even going to connect with? Like, how are we even going to initiate or start building those relationships with people? And so I'm super excited that I got to work with great people who were, I know Mr. Kaysen and Miss Tammy, Pastor Ron, and Miss Jessie, they were going out knocking on doors, visiting local businesses to help build those connections out. And I think that was really cool. So you all certainly inspired me with your work.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I think one additional roadblock was the fear that I had myself of just going out into community and just interacting with other people. But once I got out there, it just started to feel more natural, and so I was able to overcome that. But it definitely was a roadblock initially.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, so some of you talked about what we anticipated, and some of you talked about what we actually did face, some of the roadblocks.
Yeah.
I mean, let's push this a little more. As we went along in our process, what other roadblocks did we face that we may not have so much anticipated?
The rain.
Yeah, we had the rain, yeah.
Yeah.
We tried to do we built a community labyrinth that was, it ended up being a 20-foot by 20-foot community labyrinth. But when we first started, it was going to be a labyrinth that we were going to paint outside. And we tried, I think, 2 times. And each time we scheduled it, maybe even 3 times, each time we scheduled it, it was rain, and not just a drizzle rain. It would pour rain.
Yeah.
And so that was something. But I think we ended up creating a solution where we used a fabric indoors, and now the labyrinth is mobile, so we can move it to a lot of different places, which actually I think makes our outreach and engagement a little bit more dynamic than it would have been if it was a physical, permanent location.
So we were asked to choose a project to work on as a group. And that the project that we chose, we fused 2 ideas into one. So we did a community visioning day and a community paint day. And from that, we wanted to engage the community, but we also wanted to engage our congregation as far as the vision for moving forward, and also how we could work together. This was a project that was brought to us by a Wesley student, Minister Janae Page, and so she had an idea that we kind of folded into what we were doing as far as doing a prayer labyrinth, creating a prayer labyrinth. And myself and Minister Tammy had a conversation about that, and Minister Tammy had some thoughts, and she shared her thoughts about that. So Minister Tammy, let's go to our conversation and let's hear what you had to say about that. We were charged to come up with 5 ideas that we wanted to that we thought would kind of help our community, help the Gethsemane faith community be even more of a thriving community, because we were thriving, but we wanted to be even more thriving, right? And so we came up with those. We talked about it, and we came up with 5 ideas. Actually, our team came up with about 6 or 7. However, we narrowed it down to 5, and then after that, we had to narrow it down. Those 5, and we had to choose one idea that we chose to work on specifically with the cohort, the Source Collaborative. So we did that, and so we chose an idea that helped us and went alongside our visioning. And so, Minister Tammy, can you talk a little bit about the idea that we chose, at least how you experienced the idea that we chose?
So one of the ideas that we chose was the community day, and where we were able to invite the community here to Gethsemane, and we were able to paint a labyrinth, a prayer labyrinth, which really was an exciting experience. I had never, I'd seen them before in pictures, but I never participated in painting or even a discussion about a prayer labyrinth. So we had people of all ages gathering in our fellowship hall, where we were able to paint this labyrinth and talk through what it really meant. We even had little kids that were excited about painting because they got to pick their colors and got to choose their space and where they wanted to paint, and then talking to the younger generation about what the prayer labyrinth was all about. It was just an exciting time for me to be a part of that, and ever since then, even though I may not be walking on a prayer labyrinth every day, I walk in prayer. Intentionally walk in prayer as if I'm walking on the labyrinth. So we got to do that, and it was, people were able to give their ideas on the future of Gethsemane. How did we see Gethsemane in the future? What would we like to see Gethsemane? What would we like to see it? What was the look of Gethsemane in the future that we would like? So we got to write those and put those in a visioning area, hang them on the line, if you will, so that others could see what our thoughts were. So I participated in that part of the community day, and it was very exciting.
And that will take us into just our next section of talking about how did the Spirit move, and that's one way, because one of the ideas that we settled on doing was a community paint day and a community visioning day. Yes, a community visioning day, and then we had those roadblocks, but they were still successful, and we partnered with a group called the Neighborhood Design Center, and we'll talk about that a little more. But how else did we see the Spirit moving among us once we got started with our community asset mapping, and then trying to visualize the project that we wanted to embark upon as a part of this collaborative? How else did we see the Spirit moving among us?
I saw the Spirit moving among us in the collaboration, where when we came together, the Spirit people were just willing and really open, and actually being honest and open about the discussion that we had. Even with the paint day, I was in with the painting the prayer labyrinth, and there were so many people in there. I'm talking about kids from age 2 to age 60, if you will, and they're willing to paint, taking their shoes off, getting down on their knees. They needed some help getting up, but getting down on their knees and wanting to be a part of this event or this particular situation. So we really enjoyed the collaboration and just the involvement. And that was the Spirit in us, that in each individual person that I admired the most.
How else? Anyone else want?
In addition to that, I noticed how once we got moving, how it would draw other people in, because I remember the very day that I think it was a chancer choir, we were here rehearsing, and when they saw what we were doing, I guess it kind of like piqued an interest, and so it just kind of pulled them right in, and then just join in. And so this is an indication of how once you get going with something, even though it might be something you're not quite clear about, but once it started evolving, you can see how it draws other people in.
Yeah. I'd like to piggyback on that as well. Like Ms. Jessie says, once we got together and everybody came as a group, the group participation that broke up into teams is what really allowed us to understand where we were going, how we going to get there. And one thing that Brittany mentioned, that she actually adapted and overcame the situation of the rain both times, because we went out in the parking lot and prepared it for the paint both times, but it never happened. But Brittany, along with us, she was intelligent enough to go out and get all the things that we needed to do the painting. And like Minister Tammy says, everybody was on their knees, and I like to thank Brother James Wilkins, who also participated to help us.
Yeah.
So we got it done, and I'm very proud of the group that we worked with.
And I think the growth as well. So, and this is a little personal for me, but so Leon and I took a trip to Aruba in September, and we actually did a tour, and we were able to walk a prayer labyrinth, an actual prayer labyrinth. So with that community paint day, and us participating in that, it was Leon and myself and another couple, and Leon, of course, we know of his illness, and my friend's husband also has cancer. So I was able to explain to them exactly what that prayer labyrinth meant and what you were supposed to do, and they actually walked it in quiet, in silence, and in prayer, I was so grateful that I had the opportunity to participate and to learn and get the knowledge of what the prayer labyrinth is all about, and able to share it with them, and it really did their souls good to do that.
Yeah, that is.
Yeah.
So
Amen.
what surprised us most in this process, throughout the process? Is there anything that surprised you?
Well, what really surprised me throughout the process, the main one was going out in the neighborhood, talking to people, asking them did they know where Gethsemane United Methodist Church was. And I was surprised to get the answers that a lot of people did not even know. So after speaking to them and asking them what would they like for us to do as a church, since they don't know where we are. One gentleman told me, why don't you just come out and see us? And that was something we thought about, so we brought it back to the congregation and the group. And it's something that we've been thinking about, maybe one day in the future having a mobile church where you could go out to where people are instead of always having them to come to us. So I thought that was a great, something that really got my attention.
Yeah.
Wow, that's insightful. Anyone
Yeah.
else?
I just wanted to add to that because speaking of going out into community, just being able to think of different creative ways to have those conversations.
Yeah.
You know, not necessarily just on a one-on-one, but just staging certain activities like a fireside chat within a community so that we can start to interact with one another, because that seemed to be the major problem. We don't talk to each other.
Yeah.
And so if you don't talk to each other, you can't get the information that's what is needed. So just being able to do those kinds of things.
That's right.
I think another thing is many of us have been in this community for a very long time and been in or around this community.
Yes.
So one of the things that we did not realize is how much change has taken place in this community, where we as Gethsemane, the historical Gethsemane up on the hill that everybody knew about, the community has changed so drastically that not many people know about us anymore. We have little shopping centers where new business owners, we have new housing communities in our community where people aren't aware, not even aware of what's around them. So they didn't know about us. And I know when I did my community conversations, folks really did not know. My community is a little older community, but folks had not gone out in the community to venture to see what was around them, so they didn't know about us either. So we were just so accustomed to everybody knew Gethsemane, from the legislature to the person standing at the bus stop knew about Gethsemane, and that's what we have to really, that mindset had to change for us.
That's right. That's
You know,
right.
something else that really surprised me was my own way of thinking. Because I actually have to admit that I had gotten to a point where, you know, I was starting to get caught up into that mindset of, I've done my part. And, you know, it's time for me to rest, you know. And then I started thinking about that, and it just intrigued me about how as I said, my mindset changed, and started thinking about how blessed I am and what God is doing for me, and the fact that this is not the kind of thinking that He would want me to think. And so therefore, that changed for me tremendously. And I found that to be surprising. Dear Janae, today I visited Gethsemane United Methodist Church, and it was so nice to see a city on the hill. There was an intergenerational housing building filled with people of all ages. They were having a picnic in the middle circle. The community was just beautiful.
Dear Christian friends, I'm really excited about all of us sharing the Word of God, praying together, and worshiping on one accord. I know God is pleased with our praise as we continue to give Him all the glory. With love, Minister Tammy Edmonds, dated July 9th, 2022.
Dear Gethsemane, wow. I am so proud of how you've grown and the way you've connected with the community. It is so great seeing so many children and families connect. And that garden, it gets bigger and better each year. The honey is the best. Love, Ashley.
Dear community, it's amazing to see how the community have grown in love and grace. Continue to embrace one another and make a difference. Show the world how to love hard, believe in God, and keep the faith. Community strong. Love, Ava Atkins, dated July 9th, 2022.